Hey there, everybody. It is Manny Lopez. We have a very special edition, very special interview with a superstar that is all about the topic of narcissism. Yes, a very controversial topic. Not everybody wants to bring it up, but we're talking about it today on Manifestation. And we've got Dr. Eve, who's going to be sharing these resources. So we're going to bring her in shortly, but let's go and get this party started.
You hear first from Ty Lopez. This is Manny Lopez. No, we're not related. Brother from another mother.
Hey, Manny, they leaving the money out. What are they doing? You guys that are orphans and you want to get your money right so that you can be a CEO.
You have something special. You have greatness in you. And Manny's a great leader and a very good friend of mine. And I'm looking forward to our sharing the stage together, Manny. It's time.
It's time. Always remember that you are too blessed to be stressed.
Thanks, Manny. Be great.
Travel around the world and we go to these entrepreneur events, and hundreds of them that we've been to, hundreds of them that we've been on their stage, and they're all about selling. They're all about making money. They're all about collecting fame, blowing up on social media. But the reason why we wanted to take this one, we were trying to do anything in our power to make this happen, to get this event, is because of that word right
Serve.
there. And that's serve. So let's give it up for Manny and the entire team for putting this together.
That's my people, so I'm gonna help my people grow. Oh, Manny Lopez, Mr. Orphan, the CEO. Let's go.
And we've got Dr. Eve with us. Welcome to the party. Just a little intro. Her focus is helping people that have difficulties and histories with abuse, narcissism, and really helping them with traditional and energy focus as well. So we're going to get into that. We're going to dive in. I've got a lot of questions, but welcome to the show, Dr. Eve.
Thank you so much, Manny. It's a pleasure to be here, especially with you.
That's so nice. You're so nice. You're funny. Awesome. So let's get into it because we have two audiences that we want to talk today. We have the students of Manifestation School of Business. These are our day one entrepreneurs, the former foster kids, the aged out foster kids, or those that are still in the foster care system. And then we have our entrepreneurs that are within our community. Some of these have already been entrepreneurs for many years, and they're looking for strategies that can help them with their business. So let's start with your story. Tell us a little bit more about you. Why are you focused within this industry of helping women and people that have difficulties overcoming abuse and narcissistic personalities?
That's a great question. So growing up, from being a child of an alcoholic and then a woman who was trying to deal with the alcoholism, plus trying to please everyone else in her family, my mother, I was learning the hard way. And I was basically learning that there needs to be a better way to live rather than to pretzel oneself around another person in a relationship, which is what I saw a lot. And as of all things, my battery is running low. So I will plug that in just a moment. The next thing is that as I was going through school, in medical school, the clients that were getting attracted to me tended to be the ones that were in my mother's position. So because they did that, and because I had a soft spot in my heart for them, particularly with different experiences that were poignant in my life, I decided that what I wanted to do as a physician to begin with was to be helping these women get through these kinds of issues. And then I found out, to my surprise, when I went through psychiatry residency, that they didn't completely address this phenomenon. In fact, only now are we getting into having a vocabulary around what is happening here. Malignant narcissism was not a buzzword 20 years ago. So I am so thrilled to have retired from medicine and to have taken my psychiatric skills and combined them with other modalities, other ways to use energy, and other techniques to be able to help people embolden themselves to find themselves and rebuild their lives after they've discovered that that is their situation or that was their situation.
I love that. So it's really all come down to a lot of personal experience of what you've had to go through and what you've dealt with, and now teaching others how to get through that journey. Now, I'm going to go and let you go ahead and plug in your computer. So I'm going to go off screen for a second and let you do that. So, all right, guys, while she's doing that, I'm going to go and do a quick little hello and just give you a shout out. Here's one thing that maybe you don't know about the foster care system. Did you know foster kids get a trash bag and 10 minutes to pack up their lives? Yes, I come from the foster care system myself, and that's literally how I got home to home when I would go to a new family. Get a trash bag, take all of this, and literally take anything of my possessions and put it in the trash bag and move on to the next family. So this is something that we need to change, something that I want to bring a lot of awareness to that maybe some people don't know. So that is something that I think you all should take some heed. And there's a lot of really awesome organizations that are doing something about it. So we'll get back into Dr. E, but wanted to give you guys that little bit of a statistic you did not know. So Dr. Eve, are we good? Are we back in business?
Absolutely.
Can't lose Dr. Eve, man. That happens so much, is where technology tries to block greatness when we're about to share it. So luckily technology didn't try to block us today. We got the memo before they try to take us down. Good stuff. So how long have you been doing this? How long have you been in this industry of helping women in understanding these modalities?
For at least 30 years.
30 years. Wow. So many, many decades of experience in this. What are some of the things that you're noticing that maybe women don't know? So let's say a woman's watching right now, she's in a relationship. Maybe she doesn't understand the signs of narcissistic personality traits or abuse. What are some of the things that she should be looking for?
Excellent question. I wish someone would have given these to me a long time ago.
That's what we're here for. We got to get this information out.
Exactly. That's exactly why I live and breathe this. So when we are dating someone, when we are just getting to know someone in a romantic relationship, and within the first few days, a man says to you, if you're a woman and straight, I love you. Okay, there's a huge red sign. They may not have been that extreme with you, but they may have been just showering you with compliments and making you sound like you're a goddess, making you sound like you're better than any other woman could ever be, and that there is no better woman for him. When you start hearing those kinds of extreme compliments, know that, the old phrase for it is being buttered up, but what we call it now is love bombing. Okay, so watch out for love bombing.
Watch out for love bombing. I like that.
Yes. And another one is called future faking. So for those of you who have been with someone for a while, in a marriage or in a dating relationship, when he is promising you the moon, really what he's doing is he has gleaned from that love bombing stage all of your interest because he let you talk all about yourself, and he was gathering data on what he could use to manipulate you later. Okay. He wants to dangle carrots in front of you so that he can manipulate your behavior, your perception, and your codependency on him. So he'll say things like, oh, you want that big house? I can see us now. Just wait in 3 or 4 years. Now, for those of you who have been married, you may have noticed that he's been doing this for a while. For those of you who have been dating someone for a short while, you're like, I've only known this guy for, a month and a half. Why is he talking about 4 or 5 years down the road? Okay. The thing is,
it's funny because a lot of people would think, we're told at a young age, when as like women are told that look for that guy who just is going to promise you the moon and just move heaven and high water to make things work for you. And I think that the narcissist got the info, they got the memo, and they're like, oh, we can use this to our strategy. So that's smart thinking. Is like right away, if and this is something I see so much on social media, where I'm watching the people within my community, especially ones that teach relationships. These are the ones I watch the most. And most of them are single. Most of them have been in a relationship for a couple months at most. And then they're all talking about like, oh, this is how you're supposed to do this. And, they need to be married to this. And it's like from my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, the first 2 years of a relationship is pretty much just lust. Like you're infatuated with everything they do. Everything's cute, all of those things that are, to a married woman of 15, 16 years, really annoying. Their first 2 years are like, that's so cute that he just leaves all his stuff on the floor for me to pick up. Or it's so cute that he does this. And, it's like But tell me, am I wrong in that assumption that the first couple years is really just lust, or
No.
can you truly have love in that first couple years?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned the first 2 years of a relationship with a narcissist, because what they do say, research has shown that it often takes about 1.5 to 2 years before a narcissist starts showing more their true selves. So yes, in the meantime, you as the person who's with them, identified often as the developing or evolving code, are getting more pulled deeper into that web, and you find everything endearing, and you're assigning a positive attribution to everything. And if anything goes just a little awry, you immediately give him the best benefit of the doubt and just keep moving on with a blind eye to what's actually really happening.
Wow, interesting. So a lot of it ties into really understanding how to recognize the actions and what they truly mean. Now, how sincere? I mean, you can't just throw every guy in the box and say, hey, if this guy's too nice to you, he's a narcissist, right?
No,
How do you kind of
no, that's
differentiate?
absolutely right. And that's very important. We're talking about, when we say narcissism, a personality trait. All of us have a personality trait. There's healthy narcissism that allows an employee to ask a boss for a raise. We need to think enough of ourselves that we have self-confidence and that we get things done, and we help influence others in usually positive ways. What we're talking about with a malignant narcissist is someone whom over time you notice a pattern where they may be promising things that don't happen. You may catch them in lies. The underwriting ulterior theme is that they are setting you up or manipulating you to respond a specific way to them.
Interesting. So what do you do at that point? So what if you start recognizing these things? What should the women of our community be doing? Do you just kind of cut it off? Is there a way to save a narcissist? Is there a way to change that behavior? Can these women be almost, in a sense, knights in shining armor, right? Where they come in and they are the ones to save that person, which I know a lot of empathic women want to do. Is that's usually where the narcissists match up with, is the empathic one, where I just want to help him, and he's lost, and how do you kind of build that or fight or defend yourself from that?
You mentioned what I was about to bring up. That's perfect. The business of someone who is attracted to someone who is more needy or more manipulative or needs more strokes. These people usually, and so when we say women, excuse me, there are, of course, men who are victims to malignant narcissism. It's just that what we see so much more of, what's more visibly apparent, are the women who are going through this kind of situation with a man.
Yeah, we'll get the men on the next episode. Today we're going to help the women, all right?
Right.
There's enough women we can help right now. The men, you can take a back seat for once, you know what I'm saying? Please, all right, let's go.
So often the women who fall prey to this type of predator usually have had a history in their own being raised with parents who may have been narcissistic, or other people who played a strong role in their lives. Let's give the for instance of a father who is a flaming narcissist and is grooming the daughter to behave a certain way that pleases him. It might not be to her highest good. What happens then is that this young lady grows up to think this is how a man should be, or even if she might not be crazy about all the factors of it, might say, well, this is what men are. And so they may feel a very familiar thread of emotion going through them when they're dating or going through a marriage with a person like this. And when it comes to that hero business, absolutely. Parents who are abusive or exploitive because they are narcissists tend to condition the child to believe that it's the child's responsibility to make the parents happy, to make them feel gratified. And so that pre-programs that young lady to want to be with someone like that and to serve them that way, to save them. They believe that they're supposed to be acting as if they were the other person and doing everything for them. And that's the problem. And so once a person starts to recognize that someone else is being a little manipulative, is being self-centered, is breaking a lot of promises, and doing something that we call blame shifting, when you bring up an issue with someone and that someone does not hold themselves accountable, they will not take responsibility, and instead turn it onto you and say, you are to blame for this act or that. It was because you did this that I did the other. You know you're in a situation that's not good. What I was going to say a bit ago was that narcissism falls on a spectrum. So you can be with a partner who has narcissistic traits, but as long as they are not ultimately attempting to harm you emotionally, financially, physically, sexually, etc., then that's just a part of their whole personality. In other words, it's only being expressed within a mainstream degree. But then you have the outliers. So the ones who are actually causing a roller coaster of emotions in a relationship, where most normal relationships do have an ebb and flow, but they don't feel so entirely extremely draining or exhausting over a short time. When you find that the person who is supposed to be your partner is not actually holding his weight, but is gradually shedding all the responsibility on you, and when anything isn't turning out right, says, well, when you change this, this other thing will happen. These are the flags to watch out for. And what do you do when that happens? You start finding out more knowledge, finding out exactly what can this person potentially do to you that is even more harmful than what has already happened. So for that, you can find a coach, a mentor, you can look up information, speak to those who have already been in this kind of situation, being selective with whom you speak so that you don't put yourself in any danger. You don't want to be talking to a close relative of your husband who may not even be believing any of this. They may be caught up in their dysfunctional web of their own. Okay. And as you find this information out, then find out the ways that you can begin ultimately, if it is bad enough or has a look of a malignant narcissism, to extricate yourself from the relationship and move on.
So let's look at it like this. So you do this like professionally. You work with women. They hire you in this arena to teach them these strategies or walk them through this journey or help them get out on the other side. Give me an example of what you would typically do. Let's say a woman comes to you and she says, hey, I'm in a abusive relationship. I know he's a narcissist. He's checking off all the boxes and I'm just always in a roller coaster of emotions. I need out. Like, what would you say to someone like that?
I would first congratulate them on their insight and on their conviction, because it usually takes a long time to get there. By the time that they realize, they've often been beaten down. And then what I would do, because I have both a psychiatry background and the energy healing and the use of other holistic methods, I would begin to engage with them in a way that would mentally, spiritually, and otherwise equip them for their next moves. Now, my area of specialty is once they have decided that they're going to go and maybe have already left the person, but then they are wondering what to do with their lives, how to rebuild. So initially, if they're still going through that exodus phase, I will help empower them to get through it and refer them to the local nonprofit organizations that will serve them with support groups, etc. Now, the thing is that nonprofits usually stop at the point where she leaves him. And then they're left just like the child who is kicked out of a home after being a foster kid at 18 with a trash bag of clothes. It's like, now what? Okay. And so that's where I come in. And I have training, I do coaching, group mentoring, and I do one-on-one training to help them to gear up by giving them, in part, a mini education on secrets psychiatrically for how to be dealing with people, how to be strengthening their sense of boundaries and sense of self-power and autonomy. And I also go through different healing techniques and holistic techniques to be able to equip them energetically and otherwise to handle new situations, but from a new, brighter, bolder perspective, so that they can actually, even if they never considered it before, start their own business, so that they can go back to school or go to school, which wasn't encouraged during that narcissistic relationship they were in. And they can achieve ultimately higher goals, not only in terms of vocationally and their entire lifestyle, but also for future possible relationships.
Nice. So there's tons of resources on that end where you don't just, here's a, a little study guide that you can take, here's a video to watch, but you could literally walk them through this maze. And once they're out of the maze, guide them to a new path to where maybe they want to start their business. Maybe they want to go back to school. Maybe they want to go build their own dream versus waiting for permission to build someone else's. So definitely an awesome way to structure that. And that's the type of experts that you want to surround yourself with. Find people who have already been where you want to go, who are already on the other side, and they're willing to teach you. That's the whole point of manifestation, is to find people who are already where you're at. They're willing to share those results and those processes, and they can guide a light to where you want to go. So pretty awesome. But tell me more about why. What's the goal of all of this that you're doing? Obviously, you want to help women. You want to get this message out. But where do you see this all going?
My dream is to be helping to raise global society's level of functioning in terms of people who have been exposed to this type of treatment in their lives, because narcissism is being increasingly recognized. And it's also been, with social media and Facebooking and having millions of selfies online, it's also been increasingly encouraged. So what I wish to do is to help raise that bar of functionality among those who have experienced this, and have those very same people then role model for their children or for the next generation, that we don't have to go through this entire cycle. We can nip it in the bud. Now that we recognize it, now we have the education and we know what to do. Let's do it. I would love for this to be happening among many cultures, not just here in the United States. There is a grave need for this, for strengthening among victims of abuse and malignant narcissism.
I love it, because, that's in a sense what I'm trying to do within the foster care system, right? It's like, take the resources and the education that I know that can work, and just get it out there to as many people as we can. And you're in the same sense. It's like, you have your audience you work with, women that are dealing with narcissistic relationships, and being able to give them education, resources, opportunity, and get them on the other side. And it's a win-win all around when we can do that. What's a tip that we could share to, let's say, a day one entrepreneur, somebody just starting out? Let's say she's a woman, she's had to deal with plenty of narcissistic relationships. She's feeling a lot of self-doubt. She's not really excited about going after what she wants, because years of abuse and just the belittling of her dream, right? How would you get her inspired to go after it?
My first impulse is to tell her, come follow me, and I'll do some one-on-one training with her. But I'll give some advice for right now.
Nice.
For those of you who may find yourself in this position, I want you to know that without a doubt, you have a birthright to reach for the stars, and you are entitled to every blessing, every manifestation, every success, every good thing that can happen to you. All the rest that has happened have been from people who have imposed their own limits on themselves and then have limited you. Now is your time to shine. Stand in your power, and let those of us who have gone through what you've been through show you the way.
I love that. That's the way it is. It's all about mentorship, finding somebody that's willing to teach you that path. How have you been able to get to where you're at? You're 30 years into this. You've got formal education behind this. You've got your practice you've done as well. Tell us, like, what keeps you going as far as either mentorship or the books you read? Like, how are you engaging in this industry still to gather kind of today's resources of what we need to do to win?
From a young age, I looked for alternative parents. I looked for role models. They would be my French teacher. They could be a cheerleading coach. It could be whomever, but other people, so that I could confront this dysfunctional reality with normalcy and health. And this was important for me because I wanted to see what things could be and not just dwell on the way things were. And in terms of more currently, what I'm doing is, I know that in the past I have expressed codependent features because I've been in traumatic relationships of my own. Those are thankfully in my past. However, what I am doing now is sublimating that that desire to help other people. And so as soon as I experience a touch of something that I have experienced more in the past that's dysfunctional, I'll say to myself, all right, I'm glad that I've recognized it, number one. And number two, how can I use this as a learning model for my clients? What can I do to spread the word so that other people, when they come to this, won't have to go through that long-winded negotiation? And it's those kinds of things that get me up in the morning. I have a passion to help embolden women, to help make them feel happier, to help them to tap into that inner goddess, Amazonian power strength that they actually have and forget about, so that they can tackle whatever.
All you women, you need a woman like this girl in your life, man. She's going to keep you pumped. She's going to keep you motivated. And she's got the strategies with the experience behind it. I mean, geez, win, 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 people. Now, I do notice that we have a couple people live. If you guys have any questions, I know we're kind of wrapping up to the end of this, but I did notice we had a couple people plug in. Feel free to put it right into the comments. We can pop them in right on the broadcast. If you guys are just tuning in to enjoy, great. Love to have you. Most of the people watching this is going to be on demand. So you guys are watching this on replay. Now, for those that are like, man, I'd love to connect with Dr. Eve. I have maybe some more questions for her. I want to learn a little bit more about what she's doing, see the project that she's got going on. Look for her in the Manifestation School of Business. If you're not already on this, let me get you guys a very easy way to find it. It's right at imanifest.com, and she's listed in the experts feature. So if you go to literally imanifest.com, right here, it'll take you right to the platform. And you go on experts, you'll find this interview on demand. You'll find her bio, any opportunities that she's got going on that you guys can collaborate, and her most important contact information. So if you want to reach her directly, these are the best ways to do it. So Eve, do you have any last message you want to leave for our audience?
Sure. You have so much more in you than you have ever known. Whatever you've experienced in the past, life is still ahead of you. Know that you can tap into this with your higher power. I like to say God, but there are many names for that for many people. And I don't want to put anyone off or exclude anyone. I'm an inclusive kind of person. All of us as beautiful souls in human form have the right to tap into our strength, our collective strength and our inner strength. And watch out, world, when we do. You are part of this too. Go forth, surprise us, delight us. We're waiting.
I love that smile. You definitely light up the room wherever you go. So I love that we're able to bring you in, get you to share more about what you're working on, what women could be doing to kind of understand, recognize, and implement strategies on what they need to do. But you first got to recognize it. You first got to have that conviction that you know in your heart what's going on. And you can't be the savior to everybody, ladies. I know I see a lot of empaths in my life, and they want to go fix everything, and they want to be these saviors in a lot of areas, but it drains you, and you know it drains you. So you got to make sure you fill your own cup first, because you can't pour into others in an empty cup. So thank you, Eve, for joining us today. Dr. Eve, don't want to miss that doctor in there. And I would love to bring you again. You guys are going to see her many, many times throughout our events, whether in person, on virtual. So get plugged in, keep an awesome superstar like this in your network, and we'll see you guys on the next interview on Manifestation. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, and always remember, you are too blessed to be stressed. Now go serve your way to success. Deuces. Bye, everybody.
Bye.